News 24 today reporting on a Potchefstroom woman who has filed papers requesting that her husband be declared legally dead. Christo Bothma was kidnapped along with a colleague by Qaeda militants 5 years ago in Burkina Faso, where they'd been working for a mining company. Let's talk about how this process would work legally. We're joined by legal expert Ulrich Roux. Ulrich, good to have you back on News at Prime, and good evening to you. So, legally then, how complicated is it to have a person whose whereabouts are unknown declared dead by a court?
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having me. Yes, so there's two ways that one can go about this. The first is in terms of our common law, and then the second is in terms of our Inquest Act, an act dating back to 1959. The person applying for a person to be declared deceased who has gone missing needs to have a material interest in such an application, and all of the relevant factors must be placed before court in order for court to reach such a conclusion that a person who has been missing for an extended period of time could indeed be declared as a deceased person. In this instance, of course, it's the wife of the person who has gone missing or went missing in September 2018. Very sadly, whilst he was working for a mine in Burkina Faso, and the evidence she claims that they are in possession of is sufficient to show to the court that there is certainty that he has indeed been or he is indeed deceased, and accordingly he should be declared as such in order for the following procedures to take place, such as the dissolution of his estate, to declare their marriage to be finalized, or to, essentially that she's no longer married to him, and then for life insurance policies to, of course, pay out upon him being declared dead.
What do you mean that the person who brings forth the application should have a material interest? In this case, it's the wife. Who else would be covered?
Well, for instance, his children or people who he might, or the deceased person might own property with, anyone who has a financially vested interest with such a person. All of those people, if a person has gone missing, and they have been missing for quite an extended period of time, the legal processes cannot unfold unless a person is, of course, declared deceased. And as sad as it is, these are unfortunately the steps that need to be followed in order for his wife to now move on with her life. I'm not certain whether they are married in community of property or not, but if they are indeed married in community of property, then she would require that death certificate of her husband in order to, for instance, sell properties, to dissolve the estate, to claim possible insurance policies, etc. So this is certainly a difficulty for her. And if one looks at the evidence that she has placed before court, it certainly seems as if that should be the adequate order made by the court that he is in fact deceased, despite there being objective evidence or proof that he is deceased as such, in order for her to carry on with her life.
And what sort of weight, Ulrich, would the court give to the fact that at this point in this matter there are at least two conflicting causes of death? In the one, it said that Christo Bothma died from illness, and then on the other version, we're told that he was basically killed by Qaeda militants who, in fact, are said to have killed him years ago already. But even then, the colleague who came forward with that information is said to have received the communication from an Qaeda militant.
Yes, I think the objective fact is that he was indeed kidnapped together with his colleague in September 2018. And that was the last word that they had heard from him. They have never communicated with him since then. And then the report is that the militant group that did in fact kidnap him and claimed responsibility for his death wanted a ransom payment of 1.7 million rand for proof that he is in fact deceased, which is which is certainly absurd for a person to have to pay that amount of money. And obviously, they wouldn't have 100% certainty that it is in fact Mr. Bothma whose remains would be shown to them, or any other proof that he is in fact deceased. Gift of the givers, of course, became involved as well, and they advised against this ransom payment being made. But I think objectively the court will look at the fact that there is evidence that he was kidnapped in 28. Whether he was murdered by Al-Qaeda, or whether he deceased, he became deceased through illness, the court will have to look at the balance of probabilities and what is the most likely version. But I think that objectively it is clear that 5 years since he has been kidnapped, there has been absolutely no proof of life since then, and that would be the right order to make. Interestingly, though, our Inquest Act does make provision for a person if they have been declared dead, and it then later transpires that they are in fact not deceased. So, for instance, if he, through a miracle, has survived the kidnapping and is in fact still alive, then that order can be overturned, and obviously, all the consequences of that order can then also be rectified, and the normal course of events can proceed.
And does it matter at all that Christo Bothma is believed to have died in a foreign country? Therefore, it's near impossible, right, for anyone to go in there and try and find him, especially when you consider that he's reported to have been taken by a terrorist organization.
Yes, I think that it is clear that his wife, the applicant in this matter, has done everything in a possible in order to determine whether he's still alive, or whether he has indeed been killed, and she has literally, and she says so in her application as well, she's reached the end of the road. There's nothing further for her to do, and there's no one who can provide more clarity, and she's not in possession of the ransom money that Al-Qaeda demanded in order to furnish her with a proof that her husband is deceased. So it certainly makes things very difficult, as you point out, and again, our courts would have to look at the objective facts and also at the balance of probabilities. What is the most likely event that took place, and what is most likely to be the truth in this instance?
Ulrich Roux, always good to speak to you, legal expert, speaking to us on News and Prime tonight. Thank you for your time, Ulrich.